Millennial gray. Is that a term that fills you with dread? Gray interiors were very popular for a while there, and I have to say that at the time, I didn't really mind. I first became a designer during the era of espresso brown. We had espresso cabinets, espresso hardwood, espresso furniture. It was everywhere, and it was pretty much always paired with light, warm neutrals like cream or beige or tan, and I had just gotten really sick of it. I was over it. So the idea of clean, cool, contemporary interiors actually seemed really appealing to me. Especially as someone who has actually always been drawn to gray. If you watch my videos regularly, you've maybe noticed that a big portion of my wardrobe is actually gray, and it's been that way for a long time. So when gray started to make its way into interiors, I was on board. But like any trend that works its way into interiors, gray eventually worked its way right on out again. And I get it, we maybe went a little too hard. I mean, all gray interiors can be quite cold. They can be lacking in warmth and depth and character. But I feel like the intense backlash towards anything remotely gray is maybe, I don't know, a little unjustified. It does still remain a neutral that's pretty easy to work with and fits with a variety of styles. And if you're anything like me, you've probably still got some gray in your home. So if you are looking for ways to work with the gray that you have, or you're maybe even thinking about introducing some gray into your space, there are lots of cool and stylish ways that you can go about it. And that is what this video is about. I have rounded up a bunch of images of successful interiors that utilize gray in a variety of ways. And I'm going to share some insights into what we can learn from these spaces about working with gray. Now let's get into it, my friends. One of the things I really appreciate about gray is how easily it pairs with other colors. And this bedroom is a great example of that. The gray wall color provides a neutral backdrop to the bolder colors in the space. It allows the bed with that bold, geometric headboard and colorful quilt to really stand out. I think the gray also brings a bit of moodiness, and that's just amplified further by the black and white photography. One of the most challenging grays to work with is a cool gray with a blue undertone. It can just feel really cold and institutional. I think the choices they've made in this interior are maybe a bit unexpected, but really successful. They've embraced the coolness of the gray walls and then turned it up a notch with the bluer upholstery and the blue carpet. It's a bit daring, but it works. And it works because they have counteracted the coolness by bringing in much warmer complementary colors. So the bright orange, the yellow, and the warmer woods. Now, the style of this room might not be your taste, but if you are stuck with some cool bluey grays that you don't know what to do with, keep this color scheme in mind. If you prefer a more neutral interior, I think this room demonstrates how well gray can mix with other neutrals. The gray of the carpet and the banquette pair really nicely with the browns and golds. They sort of temper the overall feel of the space and really allow the richer colors and textures to stand out. Had they stayed with all warm neutrals, I think it would have just lacked in contrast and not had the same impact. This living room has got a little bit of everything. It's got cooler neutrals, warmer neutrals, pops of color, and an unexpected mix of styles. I think if they had played it too safe in this room, it could have felt kind of stuffy and bland, but the eclectic choices that they've made instead just feel really cool. I have seen so many newly constructed houses with some shade of gray on the cabinetry. I love the red hardware in this kitchen. It's so impactful, so much fun, and I think it just really changes the whole feel of these cabinets. I mean, that checkered floor certainly doesn't hurt either. I don't think anybody's really paying that much attention to the gray of the cabinets because they're too busy thinking about how cool that floor is. And all those little pops of red throughout are what's then going to draw your eye upward. If you have a gray kitchen that is feeling a little bland, consider some red accents to spice things up a little. If you have dark gray cabinets and you want to change things up, I really like what they've done here with the matching backsplash and wall color. It creates a sort of color drenching effect that I think is much more unique and dramatic than the space would have felt with a light colored wall. And the butcher block counters really help to warm things up. So the gray cabinets in this space are much lighter and warmer, but the addition of the brass makes it feel every bit as dramatic. The warmth of the brass is great, but I could also see something like this working with a polished chrome. I think it's the sleekness of the polished metal finish against the matte finish of the cabinets that just really sets the tone and makes this feel so cool. I thought this was an interesting image to discuss because in recent years, we've been seeing a lot of kitchens with gray or white with gray stone of some sort, especially marble. So while I'd certainly consider beautiful natural stone like this to be pretty timeless, it's not necessarily what I would call unique. And really, if you look at all the finishes in this kitchen, it doesn't feel that different from a lot of what we have been seeing in this current time period. But what they've done here with styling, I think really adds a lot of character and even a little bit of whimsy. I think the piece of art is really fun and I love these pink and red counter stools. I think they completely change the entire vibe of this kitchen. If you are a person that loves a neutral space or a mid-century modern space or both, you're probably going to appreciate this interior. There isn't a ton of gray and it's quite subtle, but it's really good. There's gray occurring naturally in that stone floor and there's some gray in the brick as well. They're really lovely tints and shades of warm gray and they have then pulled from those for the upholstery on the bench and for the taupey gray of those sheepskin chairs. The mix of neutrals just works together so nicely and the mix of textures adds a lot of definition. Just a really beautiful space. Continuing with the theme of gray natural materials, I really like the slate floor in this one. I'm typically not really a fan of multicolored slate. I find it too busy, but I like it in this deep charcoal, and I like it combined with these dark walls. And this area rug, I think, works really nicely in this space. I love the contrast. Those massive floor-to-ceiling windows, not a bad feature to have either. Okay, gray floors. Gray floors have gotten a really bad rap lately, especially gray vinyl plank. So if you have gray floors, what do you do with them? I think the best thing to do in a lot of cases really is just to go with a light neutral wall color like white, especially if you have lighter gray floors like these. Think of your walls and floor as the neutral envelope for all the cool, unique things that you are going to bring into the space. And then bring really cool, unique things into the space. Let's look at concrete floors, for example. Now, I know not everyone loves concrete, but I do like a concrete floor. Again, I think they just make for a clean, neutral backdrop for everything else that's going to go on in the space. So even if your floors are not concrete, pretend like they are. Treat your space like you would if you had gray concrete floors. Bring in interesting pieces and pops of color, and remember that a great rug can really help warm things up. If you don't want really light walls and your gray flooring is quite dark, I think going equally dark for your walls is another possibility. It'll draw some attention away from the dark floors while also making them feel more intentional. And yes, dark floors are kind of a nightmare to keep clean, but if you already have them, then you already know that. I feel feel like everyone has been steering clear of gray walls lately, but a light, warm gray like the one that they've used here, I think is really lovely. Super versatile and easy to work with. And it adds a richness to this space that I think would have been lacking if they had just gone with white. It just ups the level of sophistication. So this to me is really interesting. Now, nothing that out of the ordinary about the light gray that they've used on the walls, but the darker gray that they've used on the trim, I just feel like this is a combination that you don't see done all that often. And honestly, I'm not sure it would work all that well in every situation, but it works here. In a more sparsely decorated and neutral space, it could maybe end up feeling a bit cold, but with all of the rich, warm, eclectic pieces that they've brought into this space, it actually feels pretty subtle. When it comes to upholstery, I feel like everyone lately has been sticking with neutrals that are more cream or beige or sandier hues, but don't rule out the idea of a nice, light, soft gray. Still works with the warmer tints like what's happening in this area rug, but also looks great with all of these accent colors. And you could easily swap out all of these accent colors for something completely different, and that sofa is still gonna work. So here we have a space with a concrete ceiling, which probably not that common, but not really the point. The concrete really could have been anywhere in the space. Could have been the floor, a column, even a piece of furniture like a concrete coffee table. What I like is the mix of the gray concrete with the warmer wood and the bold, vibrant colors. Just a great combination if you're looking to inject a little life and a little color into your space. And it doesn't have to be done in this style. You could use a color scheme like this in a variety of ways with a lot of different looks. I think that they've made some really daring choices in this space, and I appreciate that. Imagine this room empty and with white walls. I just think that the tile floors and the gray cabinets would feel really cold. But using this peachy pink wall color with the gray, it just reminds me of the 80s in the most enjoyable way. Such a bold and daring mix of styles and colors and just the right amount of quirkiness. I just think it's a great example of how you can take a space that is maybe a bit lackluster, possibly a bit dated, and turn it into something totally unexpected. Okay, friends, I rest my case. Hopefully I have proven my point that gray is not a color to be feared or avoided, whether it is on trend or not. Thank you so much for watching. I hope we see you next time, and bye for now.